What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs bringing you a brand new video. Today's video, I'm going over how to manage your bankroll and how to be profitable playing DFS. DFS is a lot more harder than it was just a few years ago. There's a lot more websites out there. There's a lot more information out there. There's a lot of people helping the DFS community compared to where it was a few years ago. So it's getting a lot harder. But this is kind of the way to remain profitable, in my opinion. I found great success over the years doing this and just continuing to understand how contests kind of work as far as ownership and playing contrarian and not. So, and these are the 50-50s and double ups. So if you're on DraftKings, it's mostly the double ups. You can find some 50-50s. But they're not as popular. If you go on FanDuel, they usually have the more popular 50-50s. They have a lot more than DraftKings does. DraftKings just has the double ups, which is somewhere around 40 to 45% win. And what that means is you just have to be on that top 40. I think it's somewhere around 43%, 44, 45, somewhere around there. You just have to be at the top and you double your money. So you can enter all these contests, and I recommend just a single entry. I don't recommend doing the multiple lineup one because you're going to get people that are going to max their lineups in this for whatever that double up allows. I just recommend doing the single entry and just have one lineup. Don't have multiple lineups and multiple double ups, because all you're doing then is you're not trusting your process and coming up with the best double up lineup. You're kind of taking some risks. That's what you want to do in the tournaments and all that. Even the head to heads you could do that, but the 50-50s, the double-ups, just have one lineup. Have one lineup, you can enter multiple contests. I mean, if you look on DraftKings here, and this is for the main slate, too. This is for the Sunday slate. This isn't for the Sunday night, Thursday night, Monday night. This is just the Sunday main slate. So from noon until the 3:30 games, all those games, these are the contests you want to enter. There's single entry, 17,000 people in this contest. So you just got to finish. I think this is somewhere around the 8,000, something like that. That's kind of where you want to finish in order to cash. I don't recommend, unless you are really, really confident in what you have, to enter these ones that don't have the single entry on there. They'll have that little M that means multiple. That is just what I go for. If you're looking for something a lot more simpler, it's the head-to-head. So the head-to-head is more just like a double up. In a way, you don't get double your money, though. You get, I think it's 45% of it. 45% of it. So if you play 10, you win 18. So it's, to me, this is a way of going, hey, I'm facing just one player. I'm not facing multiple people. And you're probably going to have a lot of the same players because you're playing safe. You're not playing risky. Risky usually loses you these, and you play pretty much the same lineup. The same thing as 50-50s and double ups here. And that's what you go for. I don't know why I went there. And that's what you go for. So, I recommend just looking at safe plays. For instance, just looking at week one and finding quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers with good matchups. Really good matchups, good volume. You're playing guys with a high floor, basically a safe floor, but has that upside to exceed. That's what you're going for. You're going to obviously have to find some value here. You start going down, you find guys that have opportunities with players hurt, a bad matchup for the star player, so the secondary player is going to have that opportunity. Injuries at the running back, tight ends like a Mark Andrews, Tyler Higbee, guys that are like the top 2 targets on their team. That's what you're going for. You're not going for the riskier plays in double ups. You have to be very careful because that is what the field is going to play. So for instance, let's just say let's throw out here a bad defense, I guess. Let's start Trevor Lawrence playing the Colts. Colts, bad defense in my opinion. 6,500. Let's say that 70% of the field has Trevor Lawrence. If Trevor Lawrence is one of the top scorers, let's say top 5 quarterback scores, and you don't have that, and let's say you paid up for any of these players, you lost out. That's a big hit against you because you didn't take that safe play and you didn't compete. So if Trevor Lawrence were to score 25 points, and let's say you play Justin Fields against the Packers, and Justin Fields is $1,200 more, had less than 10% ownership, and got 20 points. So you're off by 5 points. That means for the rest of it, you're going to have to value out of Fields, where people save money on Lawrence. You're going to have to value out of Fields, and you're going to have a player that scores 5 or more points than the next player, and that's if he's not highly owned already. There's a lot of good plays that you think no one's seeing, like, oh, let's, another name, let's throw out Bijan against Carolina, for instance. Obviously, you're paying up for Bijan being at 8,000, and the field is 60% on it. So a little less ownership. That means there's 40% ownership somewhere else on this specific running back position. You get 2, plus you can have a flex. So you can have up to 3 running backs. But let's just say Bijan is 60% owned, which means 60% of lineups have Bijan somewhere. And they're paying up for 8,000. And let's say you do too. You like Bijan. He's got a really good matchup. You like his volume too. And you tie. So now you have 2 players. You have your quarterback and your running back that are behind the field, essentially. Yes, you did good of having Bijan, but he's still in that top 60. You need to be in the top 45, 43, 40, somewhere around that to cash. So then you have to get very different. You have to find guys that probably don't have a good matchup. Let's just find a random name here that we could say. Let's say Mike Williams against Miami. We'll just throw Mike Williams out there. Let's say Mike Williams just has a bad matchup. He's going against if Jalen Ramsey was there, let's say Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard. They have 2 good corners, but let's just say it's a bad matchup. Not a lot of people are going to play Mike Williams in a double up because of that. Also, Keenan Allen's there, Quentin Johnston. They have a lot of options. It's not like Mike Williams has a safe floor. He has an upside, though. He has potential to score 30 points if he has a really good week. And then let's say Keenan Allen gets hurt, or the guy that's on Mike Williams, so Ramsey's out. So let's say he's facing Miami's second corner the rest of the game, and Mike Williams has a good game. That's what you need. It's very difficult to try to predict ownership. There's websites out there, guys, that have very cheap subscriptions to have ownership projections. All that is they have their lineups and they're doing simulations, and this is what they're coming out with as far as matchups, prices, values. That's where the ownership is at. They do a lot of simulations. They use data of guys that have interest and kind of get that ownership percentage, and you can kind of find out where the field is liking some of these players. I don't have any recommendations on sites to use just because of prices and stuff like that, but there are definitely options out there that you guys can go to for very cheap that will help you in the long run. Now, when you're playing double ups too, defense is a very it's a quarter flip basically. I recommend when you play defenses, you don't pay up on defenses. It's not worth it. So granted, 4,000 when you're talking about defense, nowhere near the bottom quarterbacks, right? The running backs, it's a value in the sense that you're not paying a lot, but this is what you want to pay down for. You pay down for a defense that's 2,200, and let's just say Tampa against Minnesota. I kind of like it, but look at what that does. Your price goes up $400 average per player. $400. Now let's say we like Baltimore against Houston, and we do. It's only $200. So for your other 8 positions, you only get $200 extra compared to $400 extra, and you could pay values. Tight ends usually always have values. They're always behind that average salary. So $5,500, you have 3 players above that. Anyone else, you save money. You're saving money. That's $100 average per player going someone like that. Tight ends usually have guys around the 4K range. So let's say a David Njoku, 4,200. That saves you money. Let's put the defense back in there and just kind of show. You're at 6,200. You started off at 5,500 average. You're at 6,200. You could pay up for players now. That's what you want to focus on when you play defenses. Now, obviously, there are going to be situations to where it's worth paying up for defense. Let's say Washington has a really good defense this year again, and they're playing against a team like Arizona, and we know Kyler's out. Let's say Marquise Brown's out. Let's say they're missing 2 offensive linemen, and they cost $3,400. You're looking to pay up for defense like that, but just know the risk that if that defense doesn't pay off, if they don't get you 5+ points, I don't even care if they get me 1, but let's just say 5+ points. Let's say if they get you over 10 points. If you get over 10 points from a defense and you're paying under, I'd say $2,800 is kind of the goal to go to shoot for. So in this instance, Washington does meet that criteria. But like I said, the more money you save on the defenses here, the more it helps the rest of your positions. So just having, I know another option people like is, I'll build out a quick lineup really quick just to show you guys what I'm talking about. And I'm just really quick just going through some positions and just seeing players that I like. So we're at 6,100. That's getting a quarterback in. That's getting that. Let's get Bijan in. We'll go find a cheap running back here. Let's say Miles Sanders against Atlanta. Let's go to the wide receivers. We're going to pay down to somebody. Let's find a rookie that we could pay down that we like. Say John Mechie, right? Keep going. Let's find Zay Flowers. All right, now we could pay up. Who's got a really good matchup that we like? Let's say Tyreek Hill. 7,700. This is a problem that people run into, is they feel like you have to use all your salary. So it's good. You want to get as close to paying off all your money as possible, but don't ruin what you like. So if I had the advantage of AJ, let's say Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen here in this opportunity is higher than Josh Jacobs and AJ Brown, but I have $7,700, so I'm going to get close to using all that money. You have $400. All that does is go through every position, do I like anybody around the 6K at running back? Miles Sanders has a good matchup, good opportunity. Do I feel like paying up for Ken Walker, Javonte? No, I don't. Keep the $400. I mean, if you can get close to 0 and you like your lineup, you really like your lineup, then yes. If you really like your lineup and you have a few bucks saved over, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You have your lineup set. You're not going to regret it in the end if you're like, oh, I had $400. What could I have done? I could have paid up from John Mechie to someone and get 2 more points. No. You like John Mechie for a reason. He's the number 1 receiver. A bad deal. It's not, but that just stay confident in what you like. You obviously like these guys for reasons. You have your research. Stick to it. Now, the last tip that I'll give out, guys, and this is when you get a lot more advanced, it's when you start to understand ownership and stuff like that, is looking at ownership once the noon games hit. So there's always going to be afternoon games. Anywhere from 3 to 5, I think, is probably the best range to assume. Sometimes you'll get 2, but that's on a pretty heavy bye week or something like that. It's looking at ownership, seeing where you're at. So taking risks, you're obviously not going to follow where everyone's at for every position. You're going to have to pay down somewhere. You're going to have to find a value, and hopefully the ownership is not as high. So let's say in this instance, we play Russell Wilson, 5,900 Russell Wilson. We'll not play Russell because he's in that afternoon game. So let's find someone. Let's find Bryce Young. We'll play Bryce Young, right? Bryce Young here is 5,500, and he has less than 10% ownership. Let's say he has 2% ownership, and Bryce Young outperforms, let's say people are high on Lamar week 1. Let's say Lamar has 55% ownership, and Bryce Young has 3% ownership. let's say Bryce Young outscores Lamar Jackson by a significant amount. Let's say 6 points. Bryce Young outscores Lamar Jackson. Not only did you just save huge value on paying down $2,500 for a player, but now you beat the field at one position. Like, you beat them. Probably the highest ownership, obviously, 55 is going to be higher. Can't play another quarterback. So there's not one other quarterback out there that is going to move the needle that much. Unless you have two quarterbacks, one at 45, one at 35. Like, it's very, very close, right? You're not going to have that. If you have somebody with over, like, just going off the example, Lamar has 55% ownership, so more than half the field is playing Lamar, right? There's other quarterbacks out there. Let's say no other quarterback has more than 10% ownership. So you save money, you outscored the field, and you have some decent ownership on other players. Then you go to these afternoon games. You go to the 325 games, and you go, all right, who's a safe player that I took off, right? Who's the guy that has a good matchup that I didn't play? And you start to go to some of these games. So let's go to the wide receivers, and let's just say Keenan Allen, right? Let's say you went off Keenan Allen, you played some other value plays, but your value already played off. You paid down in a position, low ownership, and you beat the field. So now you go with Keenan Allen, who you know is going to have high ownership, right? You're like, everyone's talking about Keenan Allen. Everything you're reading, it says Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen, right? And Keenan Allen comes in and has 70% ownership, right? And now you went to Keenan Allen, and your ownership matches the rest of the field. Let's say you have a majority of the field in every other position. You basically cash, right? You went off some value. You went to the more higher ownership players. You read articles. You see, oh, they're talking about this. Everyone's talking about this player. So I'm going to go with where the ownership's at. I can afford to. I paid down. I found that. Now you're almost as safe as you can be. Your value hit, your low ownership player hit, the high ownership player sank, and now you're matching the field with these players. It's not always a bulletproof plan and is going to work every time, but you're doing yourself a favor and putting yourself in the best position as possible. Because if not, and let's say the field is on Keenan Allen and you paid down for Jerry, or let's find someone in the earlier games. You paid down for Calvin Ridley, right? And you save that money, and Calvin Ridley is not having a good game, and they're kind of balancing out. You want to get on that ownership with people. So that's my advice that I could give to you guys as far as a beginner tip, some more advanced, but basically a way to help you guys just try to profit on DraftKings consistently, not just hit one big week and then the other 13 weeks you're losing money because you're not playing it as smart. So I hope you guys did enjoy it. I'll have some more videos going out, some more contests and stuff like that, and how to enter and how to play. So hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you in the next one.